3/4 of common sense.
Talk Radio.
Would Putin have invaded Ukraine if Donald Trump was still president? The things I want to talk about. Trump very much believed in strengthening America's leadership in the world. And whether you like him or you hated him, he believed in working with allies. And also, I think it's fair to say he put the fear of God into those of people who were going to be aggressive towards the United States. And many people are saying that actually there is terribly weak leadership going on from Biden, based on that, what many say was a reckless withdrawal from Afghanistan, which was ill thought through. And I think Putin has been watching and waiting and sensing the weakness that has been emanating from the White House. And in fact, Putin knew that Biden won't put troops on the ground in Ukraine. And when that press conference happened yesterday, I watched it with my mouth open as Biden actually said, our forces are not and will not be engaged in a conflict with Russia in Ukraine. It seems extraordinary. So the question tonight, would Putin have invaded Ukraine if Donald Trump was still president of the USA? Well, joining me now is Sebastian Gorka. He was the former advisor to Donald Trump, and he's also host of America First podcast. Very good evening to you.
Greetings, David. Thank you for having me.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Now, Donald Trump is a polarising figure. I lived in the United States for many years. The bi-coastal regions of the states didn't like him very much. The centre of America loved him. Would this have happened under Trump?
Well, for the last 36 hours, I've been asked on many shows, what would you advise the current president if you had his ear? And my answer is the same. It's irrelevant because you can't unbake a cake. When a man who took over as commander-in-chief, who clearly has cognitive issues, who in his first action shut down the Keystone Pipeline, made sure we were no longer energy independent, and dropped the sanctions against the Russian Nord Stream pipeline, you can't suddenly become robust against Vladimir Putin. When I was in the White House, when President Trump was the president, we did something that no president has ever done, not since the Russian Revolution of 1917 did a president of the United States target Russian forces. We killed more than 200 Russian mercenaries who, David, they weren't mercenaries. They were actually special forces guys disguised as mercenaries messing around in Syria. American president called Donald Trump said, kill them because they are destabilizing the Middle East. That sent a very clear message to Putin, to Xi Jinping, to the Iranians. We don't invade countries. We're not neoconservatives. We don't believe in everlasting wars. But if you threaten our interests, if you commit acts of genocide, we will come down like the hammers of hell. That's why Russia did nothing for 4 years. He now has the measure, this KGB thug, has the measure of a weak man in the White House with a you said it, the disastrous precipitative withdrawal from Afghanistan. And he said, okay, now is my time. So no, of course this wouldn't have happened under Donald Trump. And that's why we need him back in the White House.
Well, as a former advisor to a president, let's listen to what Biden actually said, and then I'll get your response.
And are you, if I could follow up, sir, are you urging China to help isolate Russia? Are you urging China to help isolate Russia?
I'm not prepared to comment on that at the moment.
So what do you make of that? That is the most powerful, arguably the most powerful man in the world. To me, he seems a man who is not across his brief. This is not a man who's in command. This is not a man who knows any sense of what he should be doing as a country. Is that right?
David, there's another clip from that press conference where a journalist who's not from a conservative outlet asks a very reasonable question: will nuclear weapons be involved in this conflict? And the president says, I don't know. Now, I served in the White House as strategist to the president. Within 30 feet of the incumbent, there is a very large briefcase. We call it the football, that is handled by the president's military aide. The football contains the nuclear launch codes, which makes the incumbent president the most powerful man in the world. He could unilaterally decide to launch nuclear Armageddon within minutes. And he doesn't know He doesn't know whether or not nuclear weapons could be used. This is an individual who at the same press conference said, let's give the sanctions a couple of months to see if they work. Sanctions, which, by the way, haven't stopped Vladimir Putin for 20 years. Sanctions that we're going to give months to work as young Ukrainians are dying, as those coast guards were blown to smithereens on Snake Island, and we're just going to talk about Neville Chamberlain or something?
Why do you think he's acting in this way? Is it because he's ill-informed, he doesn't know his brief, or is there another reason?
Look, there are multiple scenarios. We know that his son received $3.5 million from the wife of the former disgraced mayor of Moscow. We know his son, Hunter Biden, was embroiled with one of the most corrupt energy companies in Eastern Europe, Burisma. Who knows what that means in terms of vulnerabilities to extortion or blackmail. But I have a much simpler explanation. It's Occam's razor. Rank incompetence. When you withdraw from Afghanistan and sacrifice the only strategic airfield we have in Central Asia because you want to say on the anniversary of 9/11 that you ended the war, as 13 of our Marines and warfighters were murdered by ISIS in that suicide attack at the airport, it smacks to me of absolute arrogance and incompetence, weakness. And on top of this, we have an individual who is, look, don't listen to me. I'm a conservative. I work for Donald Trump. Robert Gates, the Democrat-appointed former director of the CIA, Secretary of Defense for Obama, in his memoirs, who's a very bureaucratic survivor, said in his memoirs, Robert Gates, Joe Biden has been wrong on every significant strategic issue for 4 decades. David, you can now make that 5 decades. And Vladimir Putin, the murderous thug, knows that as well as we do.
Good talk.
Hot talk. Bold talk. Talk radio.
Listen on your smart speaker.
Watch it live on your smart TV.
The world headquarters of common sense.
Talk Radio.